Right. So welcome, Jean.
Thank
So
you.
good to have you with us. It's been a while since you've been a Y-powered health coaching client friend, and you're here to share some perspective with the Get and Stay Started group about what it was like to shed. How many pounds are you down?
I don't know exactly. It's like 100 and it's over 120.
Okay. Yeah, pretty
Wow.
amazing. And you did it all without diets, without deprivation, without counting calories, points, or no weight loss surgery, no injections, nothing extreme. So, um, share whatever it is that you think is important for people to consider as they journey towards healthier versions of themselves.
Okay. Some of this Jackie and Joanne may have already heard, so I apologize for that. But yeah, I learned about one of Gayle's groups in fall of 2018 through a friend, and I thought, well, it's probably not going to work, but fine, I'll do it. My friend is doing it, so I'll just at least go to support her. Um, and so I had little to no faith in myself that I would be able to take weight off and keep it off because I've had so many failures in that way in the past. Um, but I went ahead and joined and decided to give it a go. And one of the first things, I mean, I know myself well enough to know that I really need accountability. Um, and so the group, having a very small group of women was very beneficial to me and helped me stay on track. But early on in the process, it was like around the third meeting or so, I had asked Gayle about um, a cake for my daughter for her birthday.
Mhm.
And, I was a little nervous about bringing a cake into the house because I was a sugar crazed maniac. I had to have something sugary, chocolatey, sweet every day. And if I didn't have some in the house, I would almost literally start to panic. Um,
You were eating chocolate pretty much every day when you
oh,
started. Yeah.
oh, yeah, chocolate in some shape or form. And if not chocolate, something sugary,
Mhm.
like major sugary.
Yeah.
Um, and so I asked Gayle about this cake and I said, what should I do? And she said, well, go ahead. If you want a piece of cake, have a piece of cake. And I was like, really? Because my thought was, oh, I'll have a piece of cake and then I'll fall off the wagon and I'll, just keep eating. Um, but for some reason, a little bell went off in my head. And I was like, you know what? It's okay to have it. Just don't eat the whole cake.
Mhm.
And that really kind of triggered something for me that normalized uh, how regular people eat.
Mhm.
That they will have a piece of cake, they won't eat the whole cake, and they can walk away from it. And so that's what I did. And it it took me a while to not put junk, quote unquote, junk food in my cart when I went to the grocery store. And I do remember one uh, shopping trip that I took, and I didn't put anything in it that I was going to overeat. And I sent a picture to Gayle and to the group, and I was so proud of myself. And I started to realize how triggered I was by looking at, like, walking past the bakery section and seeing stuff. And it didn't call to me, it shouted.
Oh,
And and so I literally, for a while, for a number of weeks, would basically have to walk past the bakery section with my head turned away from it.
wow.
And if I happened to see something or catch a scent of something, I'd have to tell myself, nope, that's not for me. That's for somebody else. And actually, occasionally, I still have to do that. Frankly, I was in the store the other day, and I was looking at something. I don't even remember what it was, but I started thinking about it. I was standing there looking at it, and I started thinking about it, and I thought, my first thought was, well, I'll take it home and I can portion it out and I'll be okay. And then I thought, no, you won't. You're going to eat it, and you're going to eat the whole bag. And so I walked away. And I actually felt real good, really good. And like I said, now I don't even remember what it was, but I know that it's not in my house and it's not in my stomach. So anyway, yeah. So again, it's the tools that you're learning now. You have to keep using, and that's where the success comes from, is just consistently using the tools that you're learning about. Because I mean, I still have cravings, and I still sometimes think about, maybe I'll just get a cupcake or something like that. But I know myself, and I know that I'll feel like crap after I eat it, and I'll feel mainly just feel physically awful. And I know for me it's kind of a slippery slope. And I mean, it doesn't mean I never have anything sweet, or never have a cupcake or cake or something or a cookie. But I just set it up in a way that I can have whatever it is and then walk away. If it's like at a party or a get together, I may have one, but then I leave the dessert table.
So, so Jean, it sounds like to me, you are more familiar with your vulnerabilities,
Mm-hmm,
and you've learned to set yourself up for success.
mm-hmm,
And maybe if on days you're feeling stronger, you'll say, okay, or you kind of have learned to manage your environment
mm-hmm.
in while you may not do it perfectly all the time.
Oh, yeah.
You've had enough experience that you know how to navigate it in uh, more informed ways, that you're
Yeah.
not falling into the same holes over and over.
Yeah. And if I start to fall into a hole, I now understand what I need to do to pull myself out,
Yeah,
and to limit myself from falling all the way down into the
yeah,
hole.
that's really powerful.
Um, yeah. And I also learned that I'm a procrastination eater, that I would eat to avoid doing other things that I needed to be doing, but didn't really want to be doing. Um, and that was a real revelation to myself. It was like, oh, yeah, I am not hungry, but I do not want to pay bills, or I do not want to clean the bunny's cage, or whatever it may be. So I'm going to sit here and eat something that I'm not hungry for. Um, and again, I'm not perfect at it. I still have times when I'm in the middle of doing it and go, oh, what are you doing? Um,
So
but
self awareness is a big part of
yeah,
winning the game.
and, and coming to the realization of what exactly the habits were that were causing me trouble, and where they came from. Why I felt the need to indulge these feelings of eating
Yeah.
when I wasn't hungry. But I had, I mean, like everybody, I had a lot of very tough days where um, I had to think of ways to keep myself from uh, doing things that weren't in my best interest. Let me put it that way. For example, when I first started, my husband also is a huge chocolate lover, and he would bring home bags of Hershey's Kisses, and they'd be in the pantry. And I again would just either not look at them, or I would tell myself, nope, those are his, they're not mine. And it sounds easy, but it's not. But it's important. It was important to me to be successful for myself. And sometimes it was just white knuckling through, and having a mantra to tell myself that no, I don't need that. No, I don't want that in my life right now. And also remind myself, let me get past this craving. And then if, if I want it, I'll have it tomorrow. And, just getting past that very short window of time where your brain, not your body, is going, eat it, eat it, eat it. It's kind of just lasting through that and giving yourself permission in the future, well, if I want it tomorrow, I'll have it. And it was much easier.
So it wasn't, I can't ever have this, but
Right.
So there was some permission there, but I'm just not going to have it now.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes I would have it later on, and most of the time I wouldn't, because I didn't feel like I quote unquote needed it anymore. And and like everybody, I have had a lot of plateaus and a lot of difficult days, and I still do.
What was your trick for getting through them when the scale was sticky and you felt like you were never going to see the other side of it?
I guess I knew that if I didn't keep going, if I didn't keep working at it, then the scale definitely was going to skyrocket. And so I knew I had to keep working at it, and that eventually things would change, because I kind of felt like my body had like these certain set points that, I reached this one weight and just for weeks didn't see a huge change. And it could get frustrating, and it did get frustrating at times, but it was a matter of just reminding myself, first of all, giving myself credit for the success I'd had up to this point, and remembering how good it felt to be however many pounds lighter, and to be eating so much more healthily, if that's a word, than I used to. And also, I think, again, reminding myself that, at some point in the future, if I want to have something that isn't quite so healthy, I can have it, but I want to get past this plateau first. I want to start getting back. And so sometimes it was, another thing I would do is go back to basics, go back to the journaling, the food log, keeping track of how far I've walked or how many minutes of exercise I've had, and just really focus on my self-care. And
fundamentals.
Yeah, and it got to the point, and I did this a lot. If I accomplished something, like if I had a goal of drink 8 glasses of water a day on my check-in sheet, if I drank 8 glasses of water that day, I give myself a star. So a lot of my check-in sheets have little stars on them. Not all of them, unfortunately, but a lot of them. So that, and just little steps.
I think you were really good at breaking it down into manageable steps. So you had to, because it would have been overwhelming otherwise.
Oh my God, that was a big hurdle I faced, was thinking about how am I knew I had to lose a whole person, and I thought, how in the world am I ever going to do that? That just seemed impossible when I started. But it's the little steps. It's the drink the 8 glasses of water a day, or my first entry, one of my goals was to walk around the block 3 times in a week. And it sounds ridiculous, but that was a tough goal for me at the time. Um, and and every time I did, I gave myself a little star or a sticker or something,
What was it, Jean? What was the goal?
walk around the block.
Okay.
Yeah, once 3 days in the week. Basically just get off my bum and go out and walk for even a little bit. Um, and so, my goals started off very, very basic, and I slowly built them up. And, my goals from the beginning to more recently are so different. But, still, if I'm sliding, I go back and, I may not walk 2 miles in a day. I may say, okay, I'm going to walk a mile and a half 3 times a week, or 4 times or whatever. But, kind of scale back on my goals so that I know I will be able to achieve them in that time period. Because if your goals are set way up here, and you're kind of down here, it's going to be impossible. And all that's going to do is make you feel bad.
Yeah.
So make your goals very realistic to what you really truly believe you can accomplish. And if you're in a lull or at a plateau or having a tough time, bring your goals down a little bit. Be kind to yourself and give yourself a pat on the back when you achieve those. That will make you feel good and make you feel, rewarded.
Gotta have that. You gotta have that success momentum. It's so
important
in the beginning.
It builds on itself, and then instead of saying, well, I'm going to walk around the block once a day, going from that to I'm going to walk 3 miles every day, go from 1 block to 2
You gotta
blocks.
go off the low dive.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Jean, you have so much wisdom. I think we could probably spend the whole evening talking, but we have to do our check-ins and everything else this evening too. But we so appreciate you being here and sharing your journey. I know that everything that you've gone through to get to where you are is just, there's so much there that everyone can glom onto in their journey forward too. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording here, but really appreciate the sharing of your wisdom.